It affects your confidence. It affects the scope of your dreams. It affects your relationships. And
Yeah.
I started hearing that story back from these people that I got to play music for. So anyway, I just said, wow, what would have changed things for me if I would have known it young enough? Because the problem with this whole basically financial literacy
Yeah.
is by the time you know you need it, it's too late.
Hi, welcome to Gig. I'm your host, Mike Redman. I have a question for all of you musicians out there. What if the key to artistic freedom wasn't just talent, but financial knowledge? Today, we're taking a deep dive with an artist who's been rocking the stages, changes lives. Meet Gooding, a musician, producer, and financial literacy advocate on a mission to empower musicians and young people with the tools they'll need to take care of their money, their careers, and their futures. From playing thousands of shows across the country to standing in front of high school classrooms, Gooding has seen firsthand how financial education, or the lack of it, can make or break your dream. He's here to address the myths, share the hard lessons, and give artists and young people the financial mindset they never knew they needed. If you're a musician struggling with the business side of your career, a young creative wondering how to build wealth, or just somebody looking for real talk about money, this episode is for you. Hey, Gooding, how you doing, brother?
Good. Nice to see you, Michael. Great to meet you.
I've been waiting to do this episode because, I've got kids. I know kids. Yeah. And I call them kids just like because I'm so, at a certain place in my life. But it is, all of them need the lessons that you teach regularly as part of when you're on tour, as part of your concert series, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you, I didn't ever think, when I said, probably I say three things for me. I saw Kiss concert when I was 4 years old in Detroit, Rock City. Been messed up ever since. Always been in a band. I was a latchkey kid, so I had about 3 video cassettes. We're actually all met on Instagram. Crossroads, with Vi, yeah, of course. So plays are good. You make a devil cry. I saw Thunderheart, Thelma and Louise, Rain Man, all these movies, and it was a lot of times it was about the underdog, but it was movie scores. So I started writing all this music. I had about 2,000 songs that my band was like, we are not playing this stuff on stage.
Wow.
We're making money. So I started this charity because when you're going around the country, people will tell you their stories at 3 a.m. And I realized the main thing is I was raised by a single mama. My mom and sister and I, we worked hard, but we didn't work smart. We didn't know the rules. So I'm excited to get into this all you want and
oh God,
try to.
You know what? You have so much value to add. To hear, and this is something that I sincerely hope that everybody that watches this will pass on because you're doing your friends a favor if you let them see this. So would you just kind of give us a little intro?
Absolutely. So the thing that makes this program I think work, and it's not me, it's that music makes the medicine go down. Music is such a powerful force to open up a room and get people to realize again how much we have in common. Music was a way to have a teachable moment. Now, if I spoke first, we'd be in trouble, but we play a full-on concert, which you'll see here. But that's a hard thing to explain. So we started making a documentary about this. So anybody that can't come to a show can get a sense of it. So hopefully this little 2-minute trailer for the documentary we're building will give you a sense of what we're doing around the country here.
Hey, my name is Gooding. I'm a singer-songwriter and touring musician. I've played thousands of shows, had hundreds of songs on film and TV. Played bars, bookstores, bowling alleys, music festivals, army bases. During my travels, I've heard a lot of stories of good people making simple mistakes I made myself. So my band started stopping at high schools, playing music and talking about financial literacy. Yes, I know this sounds insane. I founded Funding the Future, a 501c3 charity to make financial literacy a requirement in every high school in America. After a full-on concert, I discussed the illusions of fame, overnight success, credit cards, credit scores, predatory loans, and social media telling us the lie that we aren't enough.
Why are we going around the country doing this? Believe me, CNBC, Wall Street Journal, NPR, they've all asked us the same question. Why is a rock band doing this? She's supposed to be throwing televisions out the motel room windows. No, that's garbage. To me, the most rock and roll thing in the world is if you're trying, if you're working hard, you should be able to get where you want to go.
I tell the students, if you don't want to work, I can't help you. But I know you're trying, I know your families are trying. When you got wealth, you got greater life expectancy, greater opportunities, better food, better health, less violence in your community, and most of all, a belief that things can get better. We're making an episodic documentary in hopes that you'll help us spread the word. The first episode is going to feature our work in the South, interviewing and learning from amazing leaders across political divides and backgrounds, including financial literacy entrepreneur John Hope Bryant, Georgia's Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger, and civil rights icon Ambassador Andrew Young. We've got other bands on the charity now, including one of my best friends in the world, Carter Halsey. So far, we've reached 250,000 students in 35 states through 650 shows, worked with Federal Reserves, governors, state treasurers, and of course the teachers on the ground making it all happen. We want to start a grassroots conversation at every dinner table, school, and town in America. Ride along with us through the ups and downs, the skyscrapers and back roads, talking to rich and poor, the cynical and the hopeful, as we fight to move the needle towards financial literacy throughout this rare and amazing experiment that is America.
That's amazing. I think I kind of have a little bit of an understanding of what you actually do now, Gooding. For everybody that's watching, your name is Gooding. The band is Gooding. Can you tell us where that came from?
I heard a joke about, they asked Dave Matthews where the band name come from. He said, my mom and dad, I guess.
Are you going to play a little of that guitar for us?
Actually, the reason I had this, Michael, was you had asked me how this really got started, even before telling about my childhood or going around. And I got to give a shout out to one of my mentors and heroes, this guy, John Hope Bryant. Get his last book. It's called Financial Literacy for All. All his books are great. But his crew invited me out to a school. Can I bring a guitar and try an experiment? And this is what it was. It's because I hadn't been running my mouth about financial literacy yet, and I needed something I knew I could kind of knew how to do. So what I did was, we do mostly high schools now and colleges, but they were younger kids, and I said, hey, before we jump into this, somebody shout out a genre. And so if they said rock. Well, they said, blues.
Yeah.
Did that say, hip hop? I did a Run DMC. I said, right, and say Latin, man. That's one of my favorites. I have a little classical guitar in the stand when I play live. I play two at a time. Say, a little something, get them clapping.
Yeah.
You're funk, classical, you know the deal. I would play these genres. Nobody said polka. I got to figure out what I'm going to do for a polka sometime. But they would shout these things out, and what I realized was, wow, now we know each other a little bit. Now I'm not just another guy shouting at them. The music really did the whole thing. And so it hit me, what if the band just went back to where I came from? I was, again, born in Detroit, raised in Kansas. But I started building this, and I realized if we could put on a full show, screens, rock and roll, confetti, craziness, maybe 4 or 5 songs, we might have a chance to talk about some things that if these kids were in a situation I was, or again, the situation that thousands of people I've talked to in these, after bars, bowling alleys, and bookstores, if they had this message young enough, they might have a chance not to fall into some of the same stuff that their parents have.
Yeah. Have you found that, have you stayed in touch with any of these students? Have they reached out to you afterwards sometimes?
Yeah, what a great question. It's funny. When I'm pitching to try to keep make sure that we got enough money to stay afloat on this deal. Because again, it's a nonprofit. It's, I'm an open book, man. Nobody's taking home any money. But the real thing of it for me is sometimes we go back to some of these schools, or if we bust in a school district, some of the kids come back a few years later. Sometimes I'm on the street, playing my little club or whatever, and somebody will say, man, I saw you 6 years ago. Thank you. My credit score was screwed up. Or, man, I didn't go to the same day lender like so many people I know have 1,000% interest. It's insanity. Yeah. So occasionally getting those stories in the road is, I'm not just saying this, man, that's the most fulfilling thing in the world. The thing is, if you start young enough, it does not matter where you're starting from. But that's a very hard thing until someone that maybe they trust is telling them that. Because the way compound interest works, the way investing in things young, the way of saving a little bit of every paycheck, if they can get that, that's the only thing that's going to level the playing field. But if every dollar you spend isn't going back to yourself a little bit, and isn't thinking long term, I tell them you got to invest in the future you.
Part 2 is really going to kind of focus in on your talk, and then we'll kind of maybe dissect it a little bit. If you want to go on a little bit, that would be awesome too.
No, that's
so as I'm going to turn it over to you, Gooding.
Okay.
Let me see if my hands are right. Yeah, I'm going to turn it over. There you go. I'm turning it over to you.
Yep.
And I'm just going to let you do your thing and tell us, starting wherever you like, what we should know about financial literacy.
You got it, brother. Well, I'm lucky because the speech starts after we've played a bunch of insanely loud music. But I tell them when I walk out, we play them some of the stuff we've done for film and TV, so they'll think we're hobnobbing with these same people we're going to say are not financially literate.
Yeah.
But one of the first things I do is say, look, if you just give me a few minutes, just pretend that financial literacy is Latin for freedom, for the things you want to do for your families. Just give me a few minutes because I'm here for real talk. I'm not going to tell you anything that I didn't live through, the mistakes I didn't make, but it really is an understanding that this isn't just about money. Yeah. Again, I think I said to you last time, I wish love paid the rent. I write songs. I wish, I wish just being kind was enough. But we all know that, the food you eat, the neighborhood you live in, how much violence is around you.
Yep.
Kids that are in homes without any financial literacy have a higher resting blood pressure. If we're not experiencing it, we maybe have seen our parents experience it. And I say, look, if you are, if you think financial literacy sounds boring, I get it. When I was sitting in your seat, some dude would have played guitar, come out here, so I want to talk about financial literacy. I'd have been like, boo, get off the stage. But let me put it to you like this. Raise your hand if you want to buy a car someday. They raise their hand. Maybe you already have a car, you want a nicer car. Raise your hand if you want to buy a home someday. That's ownership. That's good for our communities. Michael, you're a good sport here. And I said, I'm going to split you in half on this one. Who wants to get married someday? Now, Redmond, you would believe how many hands half shoot up, the ones that were up shoot down immediately. I said, I get it. I understand. That's a polarizing question for young people. But I say, look, if you even thought about raising your hand, maybe you're like I was, 4 feet tall till I was 14 to get my butt kicked out of school. Even if you're shy, if you raise your hand to any of those things or even thought about it, financial literacy is going to affect you as much as anything you're going to learn in school. And sadly, most schools don't talk about this. And when I say, you're lucky today, not so much that we're here, but because your administration tried to do something a little bit different. You got, 26% of the schools in the country are, talking about this, but a lot of times it's even tucked in econ, it's tucked into math. We are going to talk about everything that us rock and rollers wish we would have known when we were your age.
Awesome.
So I show a picture of, it's not actually my grandfather, but I say, Tyler, my tour manager put that slide up because this is what I thought financial literacy sounded like. And, it's a very old man kind of, you're terrible. And I said, Gunning, you need to go slow and steady, get a real job. The music business is crazy. And I said, look, I don't want to hear any of this. I'm going to, move out to LA, get famous, buy my mom and my sister a house and live. And the kids say with me, they go, happily ever after. And I'm like, just shake your heads, Macon, Georgia, wherever I'm at, say, if you're like me, you ever turn on your social media, you look up TikTok, Instagram, seem like everybody's having a better day than you. Never compare your inside to someone else's outside. I guarantee all these influencers we're watching, that feeling like, oh, if I just got famous, if I just, won the lottery. These folks, if they don't have what you're about to learn right now on this slideshow that I give, not going to hear about them in a year or two. You can Google rock stars that that went broke, and I'll tell you about my people I came up with. And I tell them, when I finally, after cooking ramen in the coffee pots of half of the Motel 6s in America, when I saved enough to finally get out to LA, I actually bumped into some of my heroes. They go up like this. They don't have any financial literacy. They're going down even faster. Wow. So a lot of this is about ignoring hype. And the first thing I tell them before we get into any of the nitty gritty, and I give them some examples of mistakes I made and how I started, putting a pot of coffee on 5 a.m, so nervous, cold calling people. Will you put my song in your film and TV show?
Tell me about your biggest mistake.
Oh, well, well, there's about 100 related to fear. Fear makes you, fear restricts everything you're capable of. If you wouldn't know it now, me yelling at all these poor kids around the country every day, but I was afraid to talk. I was afraid to ask for help. I was afraid to be myself. I was chasing everybody else. Fear just absolutely, destroys all potential. But as far as financial mistakes, I used to, the second I finally, and I did everything in high school. I mowed lawns, I'd buy guitars and sell them. I taught guitar lessons. I was in this magazine, 100 years ago called Guitar for the Practicing Musician, which was like the coolest thing for me. And I got in their little spotlight column when I was like 14 or something. So I was actually giving guitar lessons to other people. But anytime I would make $1, I would spend it. And I didn't understand. Nobody talked, about, my mom didn't know this. She worked hard. We didn't understand what a credit score was. And so, I really try to, explain to them that pretty much any mistake that they can make, I've made it, but it's worse for them. They buy now, pay later on their phones. They're sending checks to their houses. It's just like everything right now. It's just everything's kind of escalated and moving a little bit faster.
Sure.
Thankfully, they're brilliant and they're moving quick too. But it's really, what I say is, it's one thing if you don't want to work. If you can't, if you don't want to work, I can't help you. The first thing there is you have to work hard. And anybody that's in the music business had to get up at 5 and go to bed at 12. If you're an entrepreneur, working hard. But unfortunately, that's not enough. If you don't know the rules, then it really doesn't matter how hard you work, you're not going to be able to get there. So one of the slides says, control your money or it's going to control you. I didn't keep a budget. So we talked to them, raise your hand if you have a savings account. It's great. $5 to start a savings account. Sometimes there'll be credit unions built in the schools. They'll open it up for free for them, nonprofits. If you're under 18, you're going to need a parent to co-sign. But, and Michael, I've seen everything. I've seen kids, they tell me their stories after these shows. Their parents are taking their money. Their parents are opening credit and accounts, in their names. I've had kids come backstage, ask us for food off our trays. They don't have enough at home. I've seen them, put things on their arm like valuable because no one at home's telling them that they are. I've seen same day lenders. And folks, if you don't know what a same day lender is, it charges in the South, it's up to 1,400% interest. There used to be usury laws on this stuff. I mean, the mafia, they charge 20%, break your leg, but 1,400%, you're not going to get out from under that. They advertise in high school newspapers. I've seen it back in my old hometown in Kansas. But I try to, tell the students, don't be afraid. I'm not trying to scare you. Because of what you're learning now, you're actually ahead of the game. You don't have a credit score yet. Nothing that you could do right now is going to destroy where you're at financially. But the best way to stay out of trouble is to not get in trouble in the first place. So a few slides, really quickly, and please stop me and or
no,
ask
I
it.
like this.
Don't do any questions with the kids till the end, but you ask me any dang thing you want, but 6 out of 10 Americans have less than $500 in savings. And the thing is, there's no money for a rainy day. And the same momentum when things start going well, and maybe you're lucky, maybe you inherit some money, or maybe you work hard, something good happens when you're young, you get a little confidence, you get a little momentum. I think I said yesterday, that gnawing feeling of not having enough money, it affects your relationships, it affects what you think you're capable of.
Sure.
So the thing is, when people have one bad thing happen and they have no money saved, that same momentum goes the other way. Once you get underneath, once you're paying $35 a day because your checking account's at zero. If you're working a minimum wage job and you have zero money, $35 a day is a pretty good piece of your budget. If you get too behind on credit cards and you're owing these folks, more in the interest, you understand this, than the principal. That same momentum, goes the other way. So my thing is, again, best way to not be in trouble is to stay out of trouble. Let's learn this. Let's ask our teachers about it. I don't care who it is. Let's find some new mentors. You can ask us questions. We got a little QR code where they can get more information. I don't care who it is, man. They're friends, teachers, preachers, people. John Hope Bryan has a great one. I told you my mentor last time we talked. He says, one of the people that I look up to. He says, man, you hang out with 9 drug dealers, you're going to be the 10th drug dealer. You hang out with 9 doctors. Chances are you're going to learn a lot about medicine. And so that's the thing, is getting them in that place where, you could drive a car from New York City to Los Angeles in the dead of night with a little bit of headlights. If they will watch how these numbers work, even if they have $1, if that's all they're starting with. And I ask them, I say, raise your hand if you have $1. And it's like, oh, come on, man. I said, look, maybe that's all you have. Maybe that's all your family has. I've been there. But here's the crazy thing. If you have $1 today, y'all, you have more money than half this country, because half this country's in debt. If you have $1 in your pocket, you have more money than a lot of the famous people you're seeing on your phones, because they go into debt trying to act like they got all this money to get more.
Right, yeah.
They're actually behind. And as we know as musicians, shoot, you get the record deal, that's just the beginning of the work. It's not always what you think it is. So look, I'm going to go into some specifics here, and if that's okay.
I'd love you to.
Overall, I just feel like, if they don't get this message young, then, the students that are coming up in a home where there's no savings, where it's, unbanked families, sometimes haven't even gone into a bank. They're like I was. The banks aren't for them. I'm like, look, there's credit unions, there's nonprofits, there's,
Sure.
all kinds of different people who actually are in the community that want to help you. And, we're real careful about who we work with on sponsorships and this stuff. But the idea in my mind is just, if they don't get it young enough, or if they don't get it in a way that convinces them, they're not going to break that chain. And, we know how it is with generational wealth. Sometimes you get some help, sometimes you don't. But if you can get it young enough and you can put some away now, man, the numbers don't lie. That $1 to somebody young is actually $100 because if they'll let that compound, whereas somebody that's 80 years old, man, $1's $1. That's it. You're a little close to the end of the game. So again, I didn't learn this stuff till, I was in my freaking 30s, but yeah, if it's okay, I'll just move through, a few of the things I talked about. One of the things I do is I say, you may never have heard of us. Let me show you some people you probably heard of. Yeah. And, speaking to this new heroes thing, I ask them, who plays sports in this room, ladies and gentlemen? So, I was terrible. I'm the guy that, threw his mitt in left field trying to stop the ball. I didn't know you couldn't do that. People are laughing at me. I better go home and just play my guitar. This is not going well. But, 4 out of 5 of our NFL players are asking me, say, you watch the Super Bowl, broke, financially stressed within 5 years of their contract.
Really?
This does not matter if they make $1 million, $100 million. I say, this pocket's what you got coming in. I was mowing lawns. I was doing this pocket's what you got going out, what you're spending. This will get you halfway there. If you are spending more money than you're making, and usually your expenses just sort of rise to meet your income if you don't have a budget. I say it does not matter if you if you get the sports contract, the record deal, you win the lottery, you become a big influencer, which we both know those folks, only about a handful of them really get paid. But it does not matter how much money you make. The way you look at $1 right now, and I tell you, when you leave this room, if you don't get in this mindset with me that you got to save a little bit every dollar, even if it's just a dime, 10 points, 10%, the way you look at $1 is how you look at $1 million when you left this room. Wouldn't matter if you won the lottery. They're broke or financially stressed lottery winners within 8 years. Does not matter how much money. Most of them are, the money's gone. I think it's 3 out of 5 of the NBA, and I think it's like 65% of our baseball players, MLB, broke or financially stressed within 5 years of the contract. Then I give them some good examples. I don't want to get too negative again. Money's not bad or good. It's the way we see money that affects everything around us. Our communities, the environment. I mean, how much money we have to care about other people, to have the time to care about what's happening with the rest of the world. But I show them Beyonce, and usually, Michael, when I put up that Beyonce slide, you would think she walked up behind me. They scream so loud, I just take a pause, take a drink of my water. I say, folks, Beyonce is not here today, but I understand why you love her, why she makes you crazy, because she's a queen. I said, here's why I love her. 31 different charities she supports.
Wow.
Boys and Girls Club, United Way, Junior Achievement, places that helped me get this charity off the ground, 10 years ago. And that's the thing, it's not just about money. Once you get some money, you can have an effect on this world and on other people. I always show Dolly Parton because she's one of my heroes. I got a buddy that plays in her band. But yeah, she's given millions of books away. We show LeBron James, he's diversified, invests in a lot of different business. Just getting the money from the record deal or the sports contract, if you don't know what to do with it, again, it really doesn't matter. So at that point, we say, let me give you something concrete you can do to make sure you're, taken care of a little later on in life, but also what you're going to start seeing, you're going to see in your bank accounts how this money works. And when you see that, I think it gives you that little belief that even working a minimum wage job, I know people who work at a post office, they become millionaires later in life because they saved early. And I know plenty of rock stars that they made a ton of money early. They got nothing because they're not doing this. So the first one, raise your hand again. Who has a savings account? Here's what I want you to do. As much money, and I'm not saying we're going to put every single penny away. I used to go to Target and blow everything. On another mistake I made, I put everything on the credit card. DVDs are coasters now, but I used to buy similar DVDs. I love movies. I bought everything. I wasted all of it. I didn't have a budget. But if you can get to where you got some money in that savings account and you have a job, please ask that local banker, again, your principal, teachers, preacher, I don't care who it is, ask them about a thing. I said, it's not going to sound very rock and roll. Don't let your eyes glaze over now. Stay with me. I said, who's heard of an IRA? And man, it's nobody. It wasn't me all through my 26. I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to be one. But in my travels over the years, I've asked about 200 of them around the country, what is the best way that young people starting out, with some money or with nothing,
Interesting, yeah.
set up long? And they said, IRA, man, an individual retirement account. Doesn't sound rock and roll, but why it's amazing is, and Einstein called this the eighth wonder of the world, it is the best use of compound interest. First of all, you put that money in up front. A Roth IRA grows tax-free. So what this is, I show this chart, and it's starting at age 18. If you put away, and anybody who's read any financial literacy books, they know this inside out. So I'm not going to dwell on this, Michael, unless you want to stop, ask me anything. I'm doing the best I can. But I show them this chart. I say, if you start at age 18, you put $50 a week away. I'm not saying that's easy. You got to put your shoulder against the wheel. You got to work some extra hours. But usually if you make a budget and you look back, you probably spent $200 a month on something that you might have been able to, if you're working hard, you could have figured that out. I used to buy so much Starbucks coffee at $5 and I mean, you can't over tip, but I mean, I was tipping pretty good. Like, man, are you kidding me? I get a pot of coffee for 50 cents Folgers while I'm in, getting to go to college on a Pell Grant instead of spending $7 on this craziness. Anyway, I say, look, if you can put away $50 a week at 6% interest, this is not cryptocurrency or GameStop trying to beat the market or day trading. Trust me, I think it's like 98% of people can never beat the market anyway. So this is slow and steady. Don't worry about it. Ask a local banker. You want to be diversified. It'll probably be stocks, bonds. This is you investing in, probably mostly American companies. This is you having a piece of the American economy long term. I don't want to see you, buy, the newest iPhone every second. I'd rather you have a little piece of Apple and use what you got. You want to be a part of the game. So anyway, I tell them, if you put away $50 a week, 6% interest, by the time you retire, this is the compound interest, the magic part, you're at, I think it's at, they're up at like $650,000. And I show them $50 a week only equals, what is it, like $170,000, $180,000. This is you making money while you sleep. This is investing in future you. Now, if you wait till you're 30 years old, you like me, you didn't learn it in your 20s at all, you're down to, I believe it's 450,000. If they wait, would they wait till they're 24, they're down to 300. If they wait till they're 30, they have cut their wealth in half, $300,000, $350,000.
Wow, that's amazing.
I mean, somebody that starts saving and saves a ton at 30 may not do as well as somebody starting at age 18 with quite a bit less, just because, again, time is the greatest asset. So I really harp on, get that savings account. Don't put it under your mattress. Banks are not your enemy. Understand how compound interest works. Please ask that bank about that IRA. And then my last few slides, Michael, if there's still enough time, and if you folks out there in Michael Redmond land have not fallen asleep yet, and again, I've just seen too many people working hard that don't know this stuff. And these next few are things that I screwed up on that really, if I would have known this stuff at that age, man, I could have done a lot more for the world. It's going great now, but boy, I was a late bloomer, Michael. Put up a slide that basically says beware. The first one is credit cards. They will send your dog a credit card. I went to KU, I was at Jayhawk. I went on a Pell Grant, and the second I got there, man, there was 16 different banks. They said, "Oh, you want a toaster? You want a free T-shirt? You want a sweatshirt?" Yes. What I got to do? I said, "Man, you need a credit card." "Yeah, I do. Free money. I'm gonna start a record label. I'll take 10 credit cards." You don't need 10 dang credit cards. Matter of fact, folks, you do not need one credit card unless you have a budget and you've used a debit card. I tell them, ask the bankers about a debit card attached to your checkbook. Most financially literate thing you can do. Once you're at zero, you're at zero. I say, what's the best? If you're in a hole, stop digging. This will cause you won't be able to go into a hole if you're forced to budget. Now, once you're good with that debit card, you understand what's in there. You're not blowing, you're not blowing it all. You're not going down to zero. Get one credit card, and I tell them, and stop me if I'm going too far into the weeds here. 2 kinds of expenses. Doesn't sound rock and roll. I don't care. This will help you. It's the most rock and roll thing in the world that people who are working hard get to where they want to go. Fixed expenses and variable expenses. Fixed, all the stuff you got to get anyway. Gas, food, clothes. You don't need a $500 shirt. Go to Target. I got a $5 shirt. My money's making money for me right now. Say, variable expenses, all the crap we buy that we think we have to have that day, that we forget. We go to our closet. I said, if you go to your closet, you open it up, and you don't even remember what you had, that money could be making money for you. So on credit cards, never put a variable expense on a credit card. If you'll only put what you were going to buy anyway on that credit card, pay it off at the end of 30 days. And I say, look, I just showed you what you and your family can make at 6% on these IRAs. Imagine how much money leaves our families, our communities, if we're paying these folks 20, 25% on interest. You could buy the shirt 3 times, the same shirt, because you're just paying interest. So that's one of the main things, is just at the end of 30 days, there's no such thing as a free lunch, folks. If it seems too good to be true, it's probably not true. Pay that off. It helps you raise your credit score. That's the last thing I'll cover real quick. But I go on to talk about other places where interest is astronomical and you want to watch out for it. And Michael, I get heated on this. I got a perfect relationship with these people. They hate me and I hate them. I don't hate them. But I do say to the kids, let me tell you something I've seen out there. And I've had friends do this. Same day lenders. Now, it's illegal in some states now. And I tell them, I'm not against you or your family if you're working at one of these places. I know we're all trying to get by. But folks, when I was living in Los Angeles, if I saw a concrete block, a liquor store, and a light out, I knew there was a same-day lender setting up shop to give somebody who was already struggling a crappy loan. Here's how it works. It says on the window, what Chris Rock said, I think he said once, any place that's open 24 hours a day in the middle of the night with a neon sign is not there to help you with your future. They put on there 10%.
Yeah.
And what that means is, okay, look, I've had all my guitars stolen. I've had the van set on fire. Go through things. Say, man, I got to get this money now. If you didn't save, if you didn't have a relationship at a local bank or credit union, you go in there and you figure, well, cool, man. You give me $100, I'll give you 110 back. That's fine. Got me out of a pinch. Give me $1,000. If I'll give you $1,100 back. What's in these contracts? And Michael, you probably already know this. It's called a rollover. They spend a lot of money making this small print and a little bit confusing. And most of us, we're so used to the tech side of things now with our laptop saying, do you agree? We don't read anything anymore.
No, we don't. No.
Sure. Let's do it. I just trust and not verify. There are same day lenders. I'm not making this up. They've charged as high as 1,400%. The average, they got 400% is the average of the same day lenders in America. Down in Texas, there are more same day lenders in Texas than McDonald's and Starbucks combined.
Wow.
I played high schools where there are a dozen same-day lenders in 2 blocks. These kids can't go get one healthy thing to eat, and they could go take a loan where for every $100 they owe these people $1,000. So I tell the kids, if I'm at a school where there's some kids that are doing really well, I say, look, don't ever laugh when the cops come and take the car, take the house, because you have no idea what another person's going through. You don't know about walking in their shoes. There are people that work hard that simply got so far behind, they couldn't get out. So stay away from same-day lenders. I know they got linoleum countertop, safety deposit box. They want you to think they're a bank. They're not banks. Nothing replaces hard work or saving. You have to do the work. You have to find a local bank and get that done. Very quickly, I'll do lightning round since
I love this, man. Go.
The people listening to Redmond Land aren't seeing wouldn't be seeing this crazy slideshow anyway. Watch out for the checks in the mail. I always tell them, I say, my lady back home in Nashville just got one that said, $5,000. And I said, what's it say at the bottom, darling? She said, 234%. I was like, that's in the small print, isn't it? Yeah, when you immediately cash that stuff, you owe them over $10,000. It's crazy. Overdraft fees, this sounds geeky, but again, I think I mentioned it earlier today, $35 at, a lot of these major banks. It is expensive to be poor. It is expensive to be poor. Buy now, pay later. This is all over the place. It used to be, you would have to go into, the mall or the department store to see, people offer you this, offer you that, a million things you could buy. The amount of crap that is coming across their faces while we're all doom scrolling. There is a chance to get in debt about every minute now. You can get into debt. So drives me crazy. Just a couple more, if that's okay.
Sure.
You talk about student loans. I say, raise your hand if you're going to college. And that it's an amazing amount of people that raise their hand. I said, you know what? That's a beautiful thing. I don't care if you are, maybe you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer. You got to borrow a bunch of money. You're going to Ivy League school. Good for you. But I know people go to trade schools, 2-year schools, community college. Maybe you go to a community college where you're figuring out what you want to do and you don't have any money saved. You try to work, I say, other people's money, OPM.
Yep.
Find out from your counselor, from a teacher, is there a grant? Is there a scholarship? Before you do anything, there are a lot of, especially smaller schools, that maybe the thing you do, works for them and they want you to do that.
Yep.
Schools are a lot cheaper. And I said, I know it may not sound as sexy to go, oh, I got to go to this small school. The people that go to those trade schools that are not in debt, that mind that education, they ask good questions, they read. I said, readers are leaders. It's true. They listen to the teachers. They form those relationships young. They can be millionaires out of debt. Sometimes 30s, 40s, they're all set. I know people that have gone to Ivy League schools. They don't know what they want to do. They're drinking, they're screwing around. They borrowed a ton of money. Man, they are hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt in their 30s and their 40s. And it's sapping their potential. So I just tell them on student loans, if you're going to get a loan, which is fine. I took some loans. It helps you out. It's an investment in yourself. Make sure it's government backed, 6 to 7 points. Be careful of these debt consolidation places, these private loans, people trying to change your loan out. Again, if it seems too good to be true, it's probably not true. Nothing is going to replace the knowledge of something. Don't be afraid to ask questions like I was. Don't be afraid to do your research. Again, don't be afraid to buy some books or go on some YouTube videos to really dig in and learn about this stuff. This is the point where I say, because we're probably, I don't know how many minutes we're in, but my speech is usually 10 to 15 minutes long, and then we do a long Q&A after. And then, of course, we hang out, science stuff. The kids ask us some real personal stuff about, I can learn a lot more about the community and those kind of one-on-ones. But I say, look, you've been amazing. We're probably going to play one more song if you'd like, but I want to try to wrap this all together in one place for you. And then be thinking of questions. Anybody that has a financial literacy question, I got a little, we got a free whatever our merch of the day is. And so we go into credit score. And that is the last thing, because it really speaks to, I have a couple slides that really speak to how all this comes together. And I say, first of all, credit score is nothing to worry about. Whether you like it or not, everyone's going to get assigned one at age 18. It's simply a grade, a GPA of your understanding of financial literacy, your understanding of money, how it works, what to do with it, everything we talked about today. If you're going slow and steady, you're not believing in the hype, you create a budget, get a savings account, you put a little bit away consistently, the chances are you're naturally going to get a good credit score. How it works is 550, 800, 850 is the top. You're paying maybe they see you're paying your cell phone bill, your phone bill. They see that as you pay it online. They're going to raise it up a little. Maybe you get, again, one credit card only after you use a debit card. You pay it off at the end of the month. They're going to raise it up a little. Now, this doesn't happen overnight, folks. You got that credit score up.
And I'm going to ask everybody that's watching this to send me some, emails or comments and any questions that you might have for Gooding. And I'll make sure that he gets them and we'll get them answered again.
I would love that. And anybody, shameless plug, I'm at Gooding Music on all the socials. And keep listening to Michael Redman, y'all, because this is a good human being and you're doing a heck of a job. Really a pleasure to be here again, Michael. Thank you.
And you know what? I love you like a brother. I don't know why. I just haven't met. I meet certain people in my life, and it's like, damn, I wish we lived next door to each other.
Well, I'm on the road a lot. Let's go get a cheap whiskey, and let's both thank Adam Taylor too, man. There's nobody that's ever, he never steered me wrong, man. Everybody puts me in touch with is a good human being. So,
Adam is a jewel. He really truly is. He took me and my podcast and a book that I was writing, and he was so giving. And he didn't even know me, and that's when you've met somebody special, right?
I got my start in LA, man. I went up to a buddy, got me up cold. I got a meeting, and he was absolutely so giving. And he would never say this. He probably doesn't want me to tell you, but he's on boards for helping kids in other countries. The things he does for charity. He does a lot, man. He does a lot. So, anyway, Michael, you're a beast, man. It's great to see you.
You too, man. I'll be in touch too.
I can't wait. Let's stay in touch, please.
All right. When do you go back on? When are you going to go back on the road?
Until March, man. I got another 4 or 5 weeks driving my wife back here in the land. So she'll be ready.
That's nice. I saw that. I saw that the film of you running through the woods. I was like, he's a monster.
Oh man, no, that's just. Man, that's if you're 22, you can eat whatever you want, do whatever you want. You start getting them years on you, boy. You better hit that workout in the morning. So
I know.
You're out walking, you know.
I'm walking, right? I'm watching you run through the woods, and I'm like, I'm walking. Okay.
Hey, Stephen King he says his success is his having a much smarter, better half, and walking every morning for hours. Yeah. I'm very, very, very blessed in that direction. All right, man. You take care. Man, it's great to see you, brother. We'll do it again.
You too. See ya.
Bye, buddy.